All right, what's up, my friends? Welcome. It's time for our first really big look at the new Final Fantasy standard set from Magic the Gathering. PAX East is happening this weekend. Did a whole huge reveal, whole huge panel. If you got 3 hours, go watch that one on YouTube or whatever. But for now, you can hang out with me. I'll go over some of the important cards, come to the cool mechanics, and so on and so forth. So let's just dive right in. And first up here is Summon. I'm going to say all these things wrong.
Saying it wrong. It's Leviosa.
I'm not going to try. Summon that thing. And I do have a confession to make. I am not a Final Fantasy fan at all. When I was growing up, you were a Zelda kid or you were a Final Fantasy kid, and I was a Zelda kid through and through. So they make a Zelda secret lair. I will know literally everything. You know, from the Great Dooku Tree to whatever. But for Final Fantasy, I'm a little lost here, so flavor wise. But what I see here is a pretty crazy looking Magic card. This is a enchantment creature saga. It's a saga, but also a creature at the same time. Now, of course, we've seen previous saga creatures that were sagas that turned into creatures. This is just both. So there's a lot of interesting things happening here because it's a saga that's much easier to kill as a creature, but it's also a creature that will go away. So obviously sagas are temporary. They tell a story each turn as the chapters go on. And then when it hits the final chapter, poof, it's gone. So that's kind of a big deal. So these are not permanent creatures that stay around forever. They're kind of temporary creatures. This is obviously a huge one, 9 mana for a 9/9 flying. Chapter 1 and 2, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent, very powerful. Chapter 3 is draw 2 cards. And Chapter 4, which is again the turn that the creature would just disappear and die, it deals damage equal to the total mana value of other permanents you control to each opponent. So this is kind of like a crazy powerful, kind of like a colorless, kind of like an Ugin Karn kind of effect where kills 2 things, draws 2 cards, and then it is a 9/9 for a few turns to attack and block. Really powerful card, right? 9 is certainly a lot of mana. This is a card that might see play in older formats where it's easier to make gobs of colorless mana. I want to say it's a limited bomb, but 9's like so much. So kind of like your classic, extremely expensive, really, really powerful card that will be surprisingly powerful in older formats where you can make so much colorless mana. But kind of a cool type, honestly. I'm very interested to see how these saga creatures end up playing, which is kind of cool. Moving on to our gold cards, you've got Terra Magical Adept. This is a Gruul 4/2, and whenever EDBs mill 5, put up to 1 enchantment card milled this way into your hand. So that is very, very powerful, both self-mill and card advantage. And then it has the ability where these all have kind of like the flavor abilities that we saw in the D&D set, where trance doesn't really mean anything. It's kind of like fun and flavorful, which I like actually. D&D set did that really well also. Again, I don't really know about Final Fantasy. I'm sure that this character has some sort of spell or effect that's called trance, but cool. And it is 6 mana, it's exile this and flip it transform. So there are a lot of these in this set. There are just legends that have a cool ability on ETB and have some sort of activated tap ability to transform. And Terra transforms into Esper. I don't know much about Final Fantasy, but I do know about Magic, and Esper is definitely not red-green. That being said, we'll take it at face value and go on. So it transforms into one of these saga creatures. So chapter 1, 2, and 3 all make a token if it's a copy of target non-legendary enchantment you control, and it gains haste. If it's saga, if it's a saga, you can put up to 3 counters on it to get any chapter you want, and then it dies. Kind of like sneak attack, copy, or Splinter Twin copy an enchantment in play, which is kind of cool. And then chapter 4, you add double Wooburg, exile it, and then flip it back onto the battlefield as the front side of Terra. So that's pretty cool. And then also, in the meantime, it's also a 6/6 flyer. So again, kind of like this temporary creature thing. I imagine in Constructed, these like extremely expensive like flip sorcery speed effects are going to be kind of like the Planeswalker Ultimate, where like they're not going to matter that much. But the games that do come up, they will be impressive, but not the main thing you're playing the card for. You're playing the card for primarily a 4/2 ETBs, draws an enchantment, mill some cards. It's kind of cool. So cool card, pretty fun, and pretty cool back there too. We see Lightning Army of 1. Again, a character, I have no idea who it is. A Boros 3/2 legend, first strike, trample, and lifelink. Pretty powerful set of keywords there, although that second toughness is a little rough dying to burst lightning here. But Stagger says, whenever lightning deals combat damage to a player till your next turn, if a source would deal damage to that player or a permanent that player controls, it deals double damage instead. So kind of a cool one where you double your next combat step, but this also doubles all your burn spells too, right? So now your lightning strike can kill a Shieldred and so on and so forth. this is a pretty powerful card in that, like, its combat abilities are great, trample and lifelink are great, first strike is great, the ability is pretty powerful. Pretty soft to removal, though. I think if this card was a 3/3, it would be similar to Glissa, where it's just like this card's almost unbeatable in combat, but like if you just Doom Blade it isn't that good. But pretty powerful. We'll see how good it is overall. Obviously a great limited card, pretty fun card as well, and just cool stuff. Pretty sweet card. And then we see kind of a silly one here, Sid Timeless Artificer, and this is a new entry into the Relentless Rat cycle of you can play as many of these as you want. 4 mana 4 and Azorius Legend 4/4. Artifact creatures and heroes you control get +1/+1 for each Artificer you control and each Artificer card in your graveyard. And you can have any number of these, and it is cycling. That's pretty busted, honestly, as far as like the whole Plague Rat thing goes, where this counts all the way to the graveyard. It pumps your other heroes and artifact creatures too. That's kind of like a lot. So if there's like some artifact self-mill going on, or even just cycling these, kind of crazy. This could be a pretty insane pump for all your artifact creatures and heroes. But feels like a Mimi card. There's also a million artworks for this card. There's actually like literally like a dozen artworks I've seen for this card, which is kind of fun. I imagine this in foil would be worth a lot of money. But yeah, pretty cool card. Just a fun, silly design. We see Absolute Virtue, big dumb 8 mana rare. Mythic, sorry. Can't be countered flying. And of course, the wonderful type line of you have protection from each of your opponents, as in they can't deal damage to you, enchant you, or target anything you control, anything they control at you. Note that it gives you protection, not your stuff. So kind of a weird. I'm sorry, I lied. Yeah, I'm sorry. If they can't damage you, they can still kill your creatures and stuff. They can also just kill this, right? This has no hexproof or anything like that. So kind of a big, silly, fun mythic, kind of a Timmy card. Pretty fun. Again, no idea what his character is, but really, really cool art. And then move on to Cloud. Of course, I know enough about Final Fantasy to know that this is the main character. So let's get to this card in a second. But first, we work from our sponsor for this video today. This video and this month's content is brought to you by Into the AM, a fantastic apparel company specializing in really high quality, really, really comfortable outerwear, a little bit of innerwear too, of course. You see here they have a basic collection, kind of some low-key comfortable stuff. They do printed t-shirts, which are super, super comfortable, really, really fun designs too, like the one I'm wearing in this video, as well as a bunch more. They've been around for over a decade. Make sure you check them out. Use the link in the description or in the chat and get 10% off your order. They also have a phenomenal Memorial Day sale starting on the 16th, which is going to be up to 70% off site-wide. So check it out. Support the content. Thanks so much. All right, so Cloud, the dude with the big sword. I kind of know who this guy is. White for a 2/1 legendary human soldier mercenary. It's notable that it's not a hero. That's probably flavorful in some way. When an EDB search library for an equipment card, put it in your hand and then shuffle. So Stoneforge Mystic kind of returns here, right? And as long as Cloud is equipped, if an ability of Cloud or an equipment attached to it triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. So I feel like I'm always kind of bummed out whenever they try to make any equipment cards, because they're just always bad. It's just like, oh, look, another equipment card. Still a piece of garbage. But that being said, this is a pretty powerful effect. Obviously, Stoneforge Mystic has a pedigree. Being a legend's kind of important. It is white. And then the double trigger ability is really, really weird. It plays all the mechanic of the set we'll see in a little bit. But kind of have to go back and like think about all your equipments, like which ones are going to work with this, which one aren't. Probably a cool commander card, honestly. Constructed would require some pretty serious equipment to be good. These cards tend to not work constructed. But Stoneforge Mystic was good. This might have a chance also, but pretty cool one. Next white card here is an equipment, I believe, right? Yep. So White Mage's Staff, 2 mana for a common equipment, and has an ability called Job Select. So very similar to 4 Mirrodin. When it enters, make a 1/1 hero token and put it on it. So these equipment that come with creatures are really, really powerful because they kind of removes the problem of equipment just sort of, I have 5 equipments and no creatures. Okay, this is cool. Really, really like this, So having that's a pretty big deal. And of course, with Cloud, you would get 2 heroes because it triggers twice, which is kind of cool. So a little inside set synergy. This thing just gives +1/+1 whenever it attacks, gain 1 life, and it's a cleric. So this is a common, probably gonna be a very important draft mechanic, Job Select, and it's important to look at the commons also because it's limited. It's gonna be a big deal for this set. We're gonna see limited on Arena, of course. We're gonna see limited at the Pro Tour. Maybe we'll get a Spotlight Series event also. That'd be great. It'd be great too. But cool little draft common here. Just a Grizzly Bear with a bunch of upside. When we got to blue, we see Jill, Shiva's Dominant, another one of these legendary flip cards. They made it for a 2/2 ETB return up to one other target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. This is a human Man of War for all you boomers out there. Man of War, right? Anyone? Man of War. And 5 mana here to exile this and flip it transformed as sorcery speed. Again, similar to the card we just saw earlier. Turns into Shiva, Warden of Ice. Turns into a Saga creature. 4/5. Can mesmerize and make it so things can't be blocked this turn. And then you cold snap. So a turn it goes away, you tap all your opponent's lands, and then bring it back into play as Jill. And of course, ETB and bouncing it too, which is kind of cool. So pretty cool card. Again, I think these cards are going to be mostly important on their front side, and the back side's kind of like a bonus. But cool card for sure. We see a new mechanic here in Tiered, which is honestly really, really similar to Spree, where it's 2 mana spell. It's an instant, and you choose an extra cost. So for 2 mana and 0, you can bounce a creature. For 2 mana and then 2, you can put a creature on top of its owner's library or bottom of its owner's library. Pretty cool. And then for, oh my god, that's 8 mana. You can shuffle a creature into their library. So like an actual kill spell. This is going to be a pretty good common removal spell for blue in limited. The modality of a 2 mana unsummon versus a 4 mana like top or bottom kind of card is pretty cool. With a nice buyout at the end of 8 mana, which is a lot, but kill a creature permanently. So cool mechanic. We'll see a lot of it's limited, I'm sure. I'm sure we'll see it up through rarities. Kind of weird it's so similar to Spree, but whatever, I guess. More cool comments here. Dragoon's Wyvern, and 3 mana for a 2/1 flyer, make a hero. Hero tokens seem to be a pretty important part of a set, as you saw earlier. I imagine it'll be a major limited mechanic, and these cards are always good in limited too. So cool to see the nuts and bolts cards as well. But I also know enough about Final Fantasy to know that Sepharov is also a really important character. I don't know anything beyond that, but you know, hey, I know something, right? So Sepharov is a 3 mana 3/3 and legendary human avatar soldier. Whenever it enters or attacks, sack a creature, or you may sack a creature if you do draw cards. So powerful with fodder stuff and sacrifice stuff. It's also a blood artist. Whenever another creature dies, target opponent loses 1 and you gain 1. And note that it's also your stuff and your opponent's stuff, which means it's an actual blood artist, which is very, very important. And then, if that ability goes off 4 times in a turn, it flips. So it transforms into Sepharov, the One-Winged Angel. 5/5 flyer with the supernova ability. Whenever it transforms into this, you get an emblem, which is a blood artist emblem. That is really, really powerful. An emblem is impossible to remove, and a blood artist emblem. Blood artists are good because you can kill them. So that's a really, really powerful thing. Whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice a number of creatures, and when you do, draw that many cards. So that can draw a lot of cards, or just kill your opponent by sacrificing everything. So pretty cool card, honestly, pretty powerful. Again, the front side being the important part here, but a lot of flexibility here, a lot of modality as far as being able to draw cards and also sacrifice things. It's a blood artist and more. Card's good. Very nice one. We also see a Darkness Crystal. I'm sure this is also an important flavor thing. Those hands there on the side, that's really creepy. Just a little, there, but 4 mana for an artifact. It's a jet medallion. All your black spells cost less to cast. If a non-token creature opponent controls would die, instead exile it and you gain 2 life. So kind of cool. They have like this, graveyard effects or death triggers. You can kind of just keep those out of there. And then you can pay 6 and put the creature card exile with this onto the battlefield, tapped under your control with 2 counters on it. I hate the line tapped here because this is the kind of card where it requires a lot of setup. So you have to be able to defend yourself when you use it. So tap's a little weird. That being said, this is a very expensive card. It is quite powerful though. And the Jet Medallion ability on there, making things costless, is kind of cool too. So it's kind of a cool card. Probably not a major standard player, but should be fun. Zoderic Umbral God, Phyrexian Obliterator, eat your heart out. 5 black mana for a 5/5. Indestructible God. When it ETBs, each player sacrifices half the non-god creatures they control of their choice, rounded down. So pretty cool, kind of a half wrath. Or player sacrifices another creature, put a counter on this. This can be a huge indestructible creature. That being said, no evasion. So kind of Obliterator-esque, where like it's going to be really insane against some opponents and be kind of bad against others. Powerful card. There's a little devotion in the set too, so it might be a big deal there. Pretty hard to cast and limited, but pretty cool. What? Inconceivable! What? Oh boy! How to get a boomer interested in a set? Turn this card over and flip it. I don't even know. It doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Dark Confidant returns into Standard, and of course, Dark Confidant is one of the best block creatures of all time. Has been power crept out in various formats, unfortunately, which is pretty sad. But long time Modern may stay, Standard may stay, Vintage, Legacy, everything else. 10 for a 2/1 upkeep. Flip the top card of your library and draw it. and lose life for its mana value. Phenomenally powerful card. It's kind of weird these days where it almost feels like it should be an uncommon, but I'm sure this card's still got some legs in Standard, also in a Pioneer too, and I'm just freaking stoked to see it back. But give me Bob Marr. I need the original version, not this new version, so I have no idea what this character is. We got to red. Clive, Ifrit's Dominance. 6 mana for a 5/5. Another legend with the transform ability. When it ETBs, you may discard your hand and then draw cards equal to your devotion to red. That's pretty powerful, right? So I have 2 cards in my hand, but I have 5 devotion. You should draw 5 cards. Not an ability you commonly see in red, so devotion's a pretty fun mechanic, and also kind of inspires monocolored decks too, which is cool. But this could easily draw you, 6, 7 cards, which is kind of awesome. And then it has a 6 mana ability. Tap this sorcery speed to flip it over into Infrit, Warden of the Inferno. So lunge. It immediately comes into play as a 9/9 and fights a creature, which will almost assuredly kill anything. And then you add red, 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 red. And if it has 3 or more lore counters on it, exile it and blink it. So the first time, add 4 red. Second time, add 4 red and flip back into the dominant, which is kind of cool. So pretty powerful card, honestly. It's expensive, don't get me wrong, but as far as mass card draw goes in red, not a thing you often see. So pretty cool. More magic tiered cards here. 1 red instant, 1 damage to each creature, or 3 mana to do 2 damage to each creature, or 6 mana to deal 3 damage to each creature. Pretty cool, honestly. Instant speed power class them for 3 is pretty playable, as is 1 mana, whatever the card would be called, I don't even know. So kind of a cool one, kind of fun to see the mechanic, different takes on the thing, more modality, pretty sweet. When we get to green, we see a card that I think is phenomenal. Summon Fenrirer. So this is just a straightforward saga with no other work. Just here's the saga, no flipping going on here. 2 mana for a 3/2 creature. ETB search the library for a basic land and put it in the battlefield tap, which is very powerful. So 3/2 ETB get a land is awesome. And then chapter 2, next creature you cast gets a counter. And then chapter 3, you draw a card if you control a creature with the greatest power or tie for the greatest power. Now, if this thing didn't go away, a 3/2 that got a land for 3 mana would be incredible. But of course, this is a creature that dies after a period of time, which is kind of fun, honestly. Kind of hard to parse how that's going to play. Kind of like a temporary creature, kind of like Fading-esque, I guess. But it does a lot of things too. This card seems like a phenomenal limited card, and I think a serious player constructed also. This sort of ramp effect is cool. You can draw cards off of this thing. Feels pretty nice turned over Llanowar Elves too. And I think they did a good job on the frame here too. I like how his frame is conveying a lot of information, but doesn't feel too busy. It's well-centered and stuff. I don't know. This card's great. I like it a lot. Traveling Chocobo. I'm probably saying that wrong too, but I know Chocobos are a big deal in Final Fantasy, so make sure you roast me in the comments for saying it wrong. And there's a bunch of these in the set. This is 3 mana for a 3/2 mythic bird. Look top card of your library anytime. Play lands or birds off the top, which is a pretty powerful effect. And if a land or a bird you control ETBing would cause a triggered ability of a permanent control trigger. Triggers again. Now, this is important because it looks like a bird payoff, but this is going to be a cool card all the way through Magic's history because it triggers off of lands too. So any land effect that's going to do something cool, does it twice, which is pretty nice. Even in Standard, you can surveil twice. You can do other things as well. Pretty cool card. This is not a bird card. This is the land card also. So in Standard, probably more of a bird card. In older formats, probably more of a land card, but overall a fun card in general. That second type is a little tough, but pretty cool. We see Barts and Boko. And this is a 5 mana 4/3. Affinity for birds. Love seeing Affinity. Affinity is freaking great. I don't know, I got a button hit here. Just pretty cool. I don't know, whatever, sure. Love Affinity. And Affinity for birds is kind of cool also. Like seeing Affinity for weird types, kind of cool. Whenever ETBs, each other bird you control deals damage equal to its power to a creature an opponent controls. So kind of like a green FTK, which is kind of cool. This is kind of nice. Is there a bird deck in Standard? I've seen 2 birds so far. I have no idea. But there are some bird things already happening. Kind of a cool card. Tifa Lockhart. I also know enough to know that this is a popular character and has a popular cosplay character as well. 2 mana for a 1/2 trample, landfall, double its power. That's pretty sweet. Doubling is obviously a very powerful mechanic, as is landfall, especially in fetch land formats. So this is the kind of card that would probably be really, really good in commander decks, maybe in modern, stuff like that too. Give it a counter or 2 and then pump it up. I'm sure it's going to be a very popular commander. But pretty cool card. It's cheap enough where it's kind of exciting, and there is some landfall stuff happening in Standard, and kind of cool, honestly, sweet card. So cool stuff. A little bit of common action too here. Commune with beavers. 1 green sorcery. Look at the top 3. Reveal an artifact, creature, or land, and put it in your hand. Rest go to the bottom. So we've been seeing them try to make these green ponder effects playable. They got it right with Rumble in modern. Rumble of Malevolent Rumble. That costs 2 but feels like 1. But the true 1 mana cantrip has not really been achieved yet in green. Probably Ancient Stirrings being the most playable one, but much more locked into a certain archetype. This one's close, though. Artifact, creature, or land's pretty good. The problem with the card like this is you can't afford to ever miss, which is the big deal, and this one can miss. So, kind of a cool card, though. Cool to see him try it out. And then we come on to one of the more exciting elements in the set. These are these adventure lands. There are 5 of these, 1 for each color. They are rares. They are a land that is also an adventure. So kind of similar to MDFCs. And look for the white one in my preview article on Monday on coolstuffinc.com, which is kind of cool. But the green one here is kind of MDFC-esque. It can either be tapped as a bad farce, or you can just cast it as an adventure for 6 mana, make a 1/1, and put counters on it for each land you control. So probably a 6/6, right? So that's pretty powerful. Now, of course, an adventure, the benefit of an adventure is you can play the adventure part and then play the big part of the card later. Having an extra land when you already have 6 mana is not that exciting, but still kind of cool. But the modality here is very nice, you know. And there's also a town. It's not going to matter. I don't really know, maybe. But pretty cool. You know, we saw how powerful MDFCs were in various formats. This is kind of cool as well. However, this is a land on the front side, so this will not work with Goblin Charbelcher and those kind of cheaty decks looking to to not play lands, but also play lands. But pretty cool. Look forward to seeing the rest of these. And our last card is Adventurers Inn. Stay a while, you know, and a reskin of one of my favorite cards in Radiant Fountain, a card that I played a ton in Constructed, which is just a land, ETB, gain 2 life. And in control decks, I played 4 of these in blue-white control for a very, very long time to great success. It's also a town, too. So seeing town on a common land as well as a rare land definitely speaks to me as saying, hey, this might be a thing, kind of like gates or deserts or whatever else it might be, too. So this card's awesome. Really, really cool. So that's all I got for today, folks. Again, I don't really know Final Fantasy, but I do love Magic, and obviously this is a standard set. It's a very important set for Standard and Limited and everything else I do. I'll be doing a full set review for the set as usual, as well as a Bronze to Mythic and 10 new brews and all my usual content. Now that I'm kind of back on the mend here and doing a little better, so that's really, really great. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, support the content. Let me know what you think. Let me know what names I butchered. Let me know what cards or characters I should be paying attention to that I don't really know about. And of course, check out my sponsor again, once again, Into the AM for this video and this month. Links in the description. Check them out. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks so much. Love y'all.